Hello investigators, welcome to the overview video for the secret name, which is product number AHC30 for the Arkham Horror Living card game. Goodness how time flies. It is the first Mythos Pack in the Circle Undone cycle and delivers scenario I. As usual, it comes in a blister pack, which unless you run a YouTube channel or are a compulsive hoarder, you will probably throw away in anticipation of the Return To box that will possibly appear in 2 years' time. And like all its siblings, right back to the Miskatonic Museum, it promises 60 fixed cards. There is a QR code on the back which allows you to get a look at the cards before you open it up. And not just the player cards either, but many of the scenario cards too, so do be careful when scrolling. Opening the pack, there is your usual rule sheet tucked in under the flap, and it is another double sheet. This is largely because there are 6 different intros, which depend on if you did the thing in the last scenario or if you didn't do the thing. What is cool to see is that there is additional information given if you have an investigator of a specific class present. Whilst this might strike you as arbitrarily hit and miss, it is just flavor text and you aren't missing out on any in-game effects. The player cards come shrink wrapped and we guarantee you this pack really does contain something worth fighting for. That's not a subjective opinion, that's actually the name of the card. Hold on to your hats people, as this pack contains the least amount of player cards per class ever seen ever, with each class only receiving a single new card. Well, apart from the Mystics, as obviously they are criminally underpowered. The Guardians finally get something worth fighting for. Oi, you've done that joke! This is a true grit but for horror. Can you picture Roland and Zoe jumping up and down with excitement right now? And the art is particularly thematic, reminding you what it is you value most. Guns! Relatives are for Thanksgiving, but boomsticks are for life. The Seekers get some free money, but delivered in an interesting way. Is it going to replace emergency cash? Even being fast and having 0 cost, probably not. Although it is insight traded, so you could put it in Joe Diamond's hunch deck, even though you wouldn't benefit from the cost reduction. Do consider someone like Roland, who has Seeker as a secondary class, and for once you will be genuinely pleased to see an obscuring fog. Take note that the person playing the card doesn't need to have discovered the last clue. Well, unless you're playing solo. Duh. But hey look, it's a Conan Doyle quote, and doesn't everyone love one of those? Well, not when they make you shrink the text Ant-Man style. Maybe put flavor text on cards that have room FFG. Just saying. If the Seekers are suddenly getting resources, that means in this topsy-turvy world the Rogues need to get clues instead. After picking yourself up from the shock of a green card with double intellect icons, or 2 books for anyone who can't be bothered to learn the correct names, note how this card can be played in 3 different ways. This is way more potent than a simple clone of Working a Hunch would be. Whilst it isn't fast, you can increase its cost to 4 to either discover 2 clues or 1 clue at a location up to 2 connections away. And if you pay 6 resources, you get both benefits. Yes, it's expensive, but rogues aren't exactly known for being short of a bob or 2. Speaking of cloning cards, here we have a fire axe by any other name. Soon the survivors will have enough blades to film their own slasher movie. It's not quite as versatile as fire axe, granted, and choosing to take horror is way more serious than running out of resources. But that is what Peter Silvestri is for. It's probably not a great choice for Agnes, but for Silas or Yorick, give it some serious thought. Note that in order to heal horror, you must first defeat the enemy. Yes, indeed, this is a horror healing card, meaning Carolyn Fern can take it. Although, why? The Mystics get to turn a hand slot into an arcane slot. It is fast, so there isn't a lot of setup time, but at 3 resources, it is expensive. Because it is level 0, you could use it as a placeholder for the more potent Book of Shadows. The last stop on this world gone mad, where Guardians manage horror, Seekers get resources, Rogues are the new Clouverers, and vegetarian beef jerky is a thing, must be to give Mystics more evasion. And unlike Blinding Light, where you get to evade enemies to death, this is a more permanent solution. At least for non-hunter enemies. Simply banish them to locations that you have already cleared out, and let them sit there patiently. If you know the scenario well, you can move them to a location which is about to be removed, so they are permanently out of the picture. But wait a minute, consider using this to move enemies toward investigators rather than away from them. If you have some victory point enemies, just dump them in the lap of your Guardian, and if you are lucky enough to draw a special token, then they must stay exhausted, giving your damage dealer plenty of time to go to town on them. And that is it for the class cards. Wasn't that brief? But hold the phone, what's this gold thing poking out here? Is it a ticket to a mysterious chocolate factory? Ha, we wish. Have they introduced a new class? Well, not quite yet. Let's hope that is a way in the future. This new 7th colour marks the appearance of the multi-class card.
Oh, didn't they just introduce a new card type?
Well, kind of. In the Circle Undone we saw tarot cards that created a new slot. These are a bit more troublesome. In a last-ditch attempt to stop this game being declared legally dead, FFG have been plundering ideas from that ancient ancestor Magic the Gathering, which introduced multicolour cards about 20 years ago. Look, see, even the colour is the same. Arkham DB has had to invent a new shade, and goodness, doesn't it look putrid. But all jokes aside, these gold cards can be included in any deck that has access to any one of the classes whose icons appear. For example, Scroll of Secrets is a Seeker card, so anyone who can take level 0 or better Seeker cards can take this card, like Roland Banks or Daisy Walker. It is also a Mystic card, so anyone who can take level 0 or better Mystic cards can take this card, like Agnes Baker or Daisy Walker. Daisy doesn't get any special benefit for having access to both classes. And this card still counts as both classes no matter whose deck it is in. So if Roland Banks had this in his deck, because he can take level 0 Seeker cards, it still counts as a Mystic card if there was some effect that made him discard all Mystic cards. Just cover up the icons until you find one that you have access to, and then you can put it in. Don't forget to check the level of the card just in case. For instance, if Scroll of Secrets was a level 4 card, then Roland couldn't take it as he can only take Seeker cards of up to level 2. One thing to take note of is that these are multi-class cards, not dual-class cards, meaning they can have more than 2 icons present, and count as more than 2 classes. And you know what that means, don't you? That's right, our bearded overlord is going to create a tome which counts as a Survivor, Guardian and Rogue card, just to spite Daisy. We will literally put money on it. Each class gets access to 2 of these gold cards, and each investigator probably gets access to more, which is a neat way of making more of the cards in each pack useful to more classes without making them neutral. It is only very focused characters like Mark or Akachi that only get to include the minimum 2. They're all level 0, so your Dunwich characters can have a field day. All of these are items, most use charges, and there is a good diversity of slots if you want to cram in as many into your deck as possible. And we have both our second 6-cost double-handed weapon and our second multi-slot card. All the rules for how gold cards work are easily explained in the rule sheet. No, of course not, that would be too simple. The first thing you will need to do is navigate to the FFG website. Check for the 2019 FAQ, which will have additional explanations and some errata as well. If that isn't out yet, then download the compiled campaign log, which has an updated version of the rules to tide you over in the meantime. As soon as FFG figures out how gold cards work, then we can make a video to let you know. Today's guest accessories were these gold detailed chaos tokens from Orbits and these high-vis location connectors from Top Shelf Gamer.